Hey guys, good evening. We are live already tonight for our leadership stack session. So, how are you? It's the beginning of 2021 and already it's busy actually. At least for SEO Hacker and the team, it's been a year where inquiries has been picking up. I think the economy is also picking up. So that's a good thing. And I hope it's a good thing for the rest of you guys out there also doing business and the professionals out there who are looking for work. I hope that you have already found work that you will grow to love and appreciate. And so, for those who are watching via Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Periscope, you can ask your questions, business questions, leadership, even consulting in the link below, right there from the Chauncey/Discord. That is where you ask your questions. You can join the community and be able to consult with me for free. So to start, I'm going to start with Patrick Miguel's questions just because he has so much again today. We have questions from Cora, we have questions from Jules as well. And yeah, so the first question is sleep really important for entrepreneurs? How do you keep a healthy sleeping routine? So it's super timely for this question to be asked because the latest episodes in the podcast is about sleep. It's actually about growing your business while you sleep, which is a very interesting topic. So, for those of you who have not yet been able to subscribe to our Spotify podcast, you can do so via searching for the Leadership Stack on Spotify, and you'll be able to find the podcast immediately. We have series going on right now. We published the four parts actually already, and one of them is how to improve your business by sleeping, which is actually a really good interview topic. And I really enjoyed this recording because I learned so much from it. So if you want to listen to this episode, just go to leadme.ph/Spotify. So I'm going ahead and put the link down below. There you go. Leadme.ph/Spotify. That is where you can tune in to these episodes. And by the way, we've already published more than 100, I think 130 episodes already today. So that's huge milestone since I started podcasting July of 2019. So even before the pandemic, I started the podcast already, and it has grown to a good number of followers, downloads, and streams. And I'm just so blessed that it has helped a lot of people, entrepreneurs, podcasters as well, people who wanted to start their podcasts. So surprisingly, I helped them too. And there are people also who are employees and part of a team, and I help them as well through the podcast. So I'm very happy about how this has turned out, and we will still be churning two episodes every week. We're not going to stop with that. So to answer the question, yes, I think sleep is really important for entrepreneurs. And having a healthy sleeping routine is critical for you to function at your prime, I would say. So for me personally, I really try to get at least 8 hours of sleep. And that's because if I have any less, it's difficult for me to have to be able to function excellently. So I find that my brain is a bit foggy. I find that it's I cannot respond that quickly to some questions or to some inquiries. So also I feel very draggy, and I feel very how do you say it? Very heavy for the entire day. My head and my eyes are very heavy if I don't get enough sleep. So sleep is super important, and a healthy sleeping routine would actually be a routine that would enable you to sleep at the time you want to sleep. That is a healthy sleeping routine. So for me, my sleep routine starts when I go into the bedroom. Everything's yellow light. We don't have blue lights there when it's sleeping time. And then I have my sleeping tea. So I use chamomile tea, and you can use whatever you want. You can buy it. I buy mine from Healthy Options. As long as there's chamomile and lavender, I'm okay. That's a sleeping tea for me. That's gonna trigger my melatonin, and I'm gonna be able to sleep better if I have that kind of tea. So I use tea, I use yellow light, and I also use brain.fm as an app on the phone, and I use the sleeping brainwave music to help me to sleep. So I turn on the same brainwave music every night. It's the same, and when that's turned on, that helps me to just get in the sleeping mode. And couple of minutes later, I'm already knocked out. So it's not a complicated sleeping routine. It's just tea, yellow light, and brainwave sleep music. That's the combination for me. That keeps me asleep, and that helps me to also get knocked out at a certain time. So I start the routine 30, 45 minutes earlier, and then after 45 minutes, I'm just out. Second question, what is your overall outlook for 2021? Well, I think 2021 is the year where the fog is lifting, so we can see clearer and we can see further, which is really good. And I'm hopeful actually for 2021 to be a much better year in terms of financial and economically. I think it will be a much better year than 2020. And another reason why I say that is it's January this year, and at SEO Hacker, we've gotten a good number of inquiries already and closed a good number of deals already as well, which is surprising since we just came from 2020 pandemic and crisis. I did not expect that, but that is a good signal for me that the economy is picking up, because digital marketing might not be the first thing that people will invest in come 2021. That's because the budgets might still be tight. And if people can't see that far, they're also going to be holding on to their cash, which is not the case, because I think that digital marketing, even if it is becoming an essential part of businesses, it is still marketing. You can still improve a lot of things, such as your cash flow, your product, or your service. And marketing might not be one of the first things that you will actually do, but in the fact that we closed already a good number of clients this year, and it's just January 14, that is a good sign for 2021. So I'm kind of bullish on my outlook with 2021, which I hope a lot of entrepreneurs also share the same sentiment. Next question, what do you think of digital currencies? Cryptocurrencies. No, digital currencies, cryptocurrencies. I think you mean cryptocurrencies. Do you think it will be integrated in PH in Philippines? If yes, when? Um, well, it's tough to say, because digital currencies, I think the legitimate ones should be tied up to some sort of foundational structure. So, for example, with Bitcoin, they have tried to tie it up with the economy, and the banks, even PayPal, has gotten into Bitcoin already, just because it's super strong. I mean, it went down to 3,000 last year, March, and then went all the way up to 40,000 this year. So it's super strong. I think it's too strong to ignore. That's why they went into it. But I don't think that it's integrated into some foundational structure still. So that still makes it very risky, and it's still largely sentiment driven. So I think that the pro is, if you're a very, very high risk taker, when it comes to your investments, go investing in cryptocurrency seems like one of the best investments today, because the market is still volatile and the economies are still haywire coming from 2020's pandemic and crisis. The cons would be, yeah, it doesn't have any real foundation, and of course, we know that a lot of it is used as for transactions that are not legitimate as well. So I think those are the cons. I think it will be integrated in the Philippines, but in a very minimal way. So I know there are some companies here who accept Bitcoin as payment, but other than that, I don't think there's much else because the technology here in the Philippines has not caught up to it yet. Although I know that there are more solutions provider here, such as software as a service providers for POS and payments, but I think we're really way behind when it comes to other countries, comparing it to other countries. So I think it might take a long while before we integrate cryptocurrencies to in our economy locally. How do you deal with the client that does not pay? Um, Try your best to be diplomatic first. So if you have exhausted all options, going to their office, talking with the higher ups, calling them, putting in every effort to do that, then if they still does not want to pay, if they still don't pay, or they're trying to avoid you, then you have to do your due diligence as the business owner and send them a demand letter. You have to do the legal process. Otherwise, you're going to have to just give up on that amount. If it's a significant amount above 500,000 pesos, that is a good claim where your lawyer can represent you in court, so you don't spend time in court versus spending more time on your business. But if it is less than 500k, that is small claims, considered small claims. So you, the owner, would have to represent yourself, and your lawyers would not be able to represent you for most of the hearings. So usually, pag small claims, wala eh. Talagang a lot of business owners would give up because instead of them making money by focusing on the business, you would have to go to court every once in a while just to get that money paid to you. So you have to weigh if it's worth the time that you're going to be spending really going through the court case with your client that does not pay. If But how I would do it, I first would exhaust every possible option to do it diplomatically before going to court. That is how I'm going to do it. Especially if you don't need the money naman, if it's not critical for you to get that money ASAP, you still have good safety net, you still have good cash flow, and then you know that they were also hit by the pandemic, so their finance team might be in haywire, or they might also not be collecting as well. So sometimes you just have to understand your clients, and you just have to put relationship above collecting, especially if your cash flow is fine and you have your safety net and everything is okay. You're not going to die without that money. Then you have to put your relationship above your finances or financial standing with that client first. Do you think vaccines are the solution to the present pandemic, or we just have to live with the virus? I think discipline is the solution to the present pandemic. If everyone was disciplined enough to make sure that we practice social distancing, we practice staying at home, we practice sanitization as well as we should, I think that the pandemic would be gone in a small amount of time. Actually, that's what I think. And we could see that with New Zealand, which is now virus free. We could see it with Taiwan and how they handled the virus outbreak as well. They are very disciplined as a country. They respect their country, they respect their countrymen, and they have honor. They don't want to dishonor their family name, their identity, and their country by being undisciplined and being selfish and going out and still doing stuff and being a catalyst to the virus spreading. So I think that discipline, not the vaccine, is the solution to the pandemic. But even if there are vaccines out there, and we know that vaccines, if they have 78% um, effectivity, they're already being distributed. So China's vaccine was proven to only have a 50% effectivity. And this is from New York Times, so it's a legitimate source. And they did the testing in Brazil, I believe. So in the lab in Brazil. And so 50% efficacy. I mean, that's like tossing a coin. So you get the vaccine, and there's a 50% chance that you're still going to get the virus. I don't think that's a good deal. So I don't think that it's the solution, because even if we have people who are undisciplined vaccinated, they still would have a chance to get the virus because they're undisciplined, and the chances of them just making sure that the virus spreads and keeps alive is very high, even if they have the vaccine already. So that's my take on that question. Throwback question: how do you maintain a balance of time for work, time, or family? Um, Balance for work, time for family. You just have to prioritize. So it's gonna be the same answer then. So priority is super important. Make sure that what is priority for you, that is what you dedicate your time to. You cannot have so many priorities at the same time, because time is singular, constant, and linear. That's it. What you do in this minute, that's the only thing you can do. You cannot do any more than that. And how our brain works is, if you shift it from one task to another, there's a cost of shifting. That cost of shifting, you actually become stupid in between. So if you're doing a lot of things at the same time and shifting your brain from one task to another multiple times within the same hour or within the same minute, you become stupid a lot of times. So you have to avoid that and just focus your time on your priority. Just make sure you finish your priority and then move on to the next priority. So if family is a priority, you just have to make sure that you block off your time for them, because that time should be used for them. Again, time is linear, singular, and when you use it, that's it. What you use that minute for, what you use that hour for, that's it. If you switch between tasks, you get stupid a lot of times. I don't think it's worth it. So that's how I do it. That's how I think a lot of people who want to be efficient with their time should do it as well. They say you're the average of the top five people you spend time with, who are your top five mentors or friends, not family members. Huh. Well, I have. I don't spend a lot of time with my mentors now because it's the pandemic, but I do have one mentor who I get to meet every week because of church, and he's my D group leader. His name is Pastor Joby Soriano, and he's an excellent mentor because he is also an excellent businessman before he went full time in the ministry. One of the one of the best business people I look up to, and I still get business advice from him. I still get advice about how to manage people, how to manage your emotions from him. So I look up to him very much, and I listen to him. Whatever he says, I listen to him, and I apply it as best as I can. I have friends who are also more successful than me. I like to keep people who are more successful than me around me, and that's because I aspire. They inspire me to be more. They inspire me to do more. They inspire me to be more disciplined. So one person who comes to mind is person named Grant Mariel. Grant, if you're listening, I just want you to know that I miss you, and I hope you're doing very well. So he's a guy who has inspired me. He's younger by a year, but has done so much stuff already. He lives in Melbourne. He wakes up at 5 a.m. every day and has a really good sleeping routine. He's an early bird, and the amount of work that he's able to do in a day is amazing. And the it's like he's a guy who has 40 hours every day. It seems to me that that's the case, but yeah, of course that's absurd. We all have 24 hours a day. So I like to keep people like that around me. People who inspire me to be more, who drive me to be better, to change, to be better. I also, the same is true of eliminating the bottom people in your life. Just stay away from people who also are not good for you. They do not inspire you. They do not motivate you. They drag you down. You don't feel great. You don't learn anything from them, and they don't have anything to just uh, have to give you, or they don't have anything to impact positively in your life. I think you have to get rid of those people because they're going to be zombies and big baggages that you're going to be carrying around. So Yeah, that I can't think of the top 5 right now, and that's because of due to the pandemic. I couldn't spend a lot of time with other people except for my own family here at home. Next question is who do you look up to with regards to digital marketing? What do you like about how they do things that we can learn from? Well, I my field digital marketing is super big. It's a huge industry and field, and my field would be SEO. And SEO in itself is already extremely big. It is an extremely big field to play in. So I would say people in digital marketing that have inspired me, I would go way back to Brian Clark. Brian Clark is the CEO and founder of Copy Blogger. And during my time when I was starting out, 2009, I think, I would read Copy Blogger and his stuff just blows you away. Super simple, clear, concise, and you just fall in love with how he writes because it's super easy to understand what he wants to come about, and you finish each and everything that he writes. It's not draggy at all. And he is now the Copy Blogger has evolved to a tech media company. It's amazing. He's super successful already, and I saw his journey from when he began. It's an amazing journey. Another person would be Rand Fishkin, the former CEO of Moz and co-founder of Moz. He has inspired a lot of people because you can see his heart to help others. He is one of the people who are genuinely interested in helping other people grow and become better in the field of SEO and digital marketing. So I think that is super inspiring. It's a super good thing. Um, Other people locally who are great at what they do, I have to name Jason Asidre, who's a good friend of mine. When I was starting out, we used to help each other out, and he gave me a lot of advice, and he gave me a lot of stuff that I also learned from. So, Jason Asidre, one of the people who are also very generous in what he knows, and he blogs about his stuff at Kaiser This Age, his own website. So, those are some people that I would say you could look up. You could look them up and learn from them. Next question is how do you come up with a system to train your employees so that the business will thrive even if you're not present every single day? Process documents. So make sure that when you have new hires, they would go through your process documents and not always be asking questions to your direct reports or to their direct reports. The reason behind that is you want to stress test your process documents. So, process documents are simply documents on how you do things. So, for example, how do you do SEO? Here's the document, read it, log in the credentials or the softwares that are there, try it out. And if you have questions or if you don't understand anything or something in the document, then you can ask me. So that's the time that you tell them to ask you when there's a roadblock in your process document, because that's how you're going to be improving the process documents for the future hires, the future generations of hires. If you don't improve your process documents, it's stale and it's dead, then you are always going to have to be in the business to teach and train new hires, and that sucks. So make sure that you have process documents in place and you always update your process documents so that when you have new hires, they would just go through the process documents, and if they find it amazing, helpful, and there's nothing there that is confusing to them, there are no roadblocks, fantastic. Now you can go on a vacation for a year and not have to worry about anything. So I'm gonna jump to Jules. Jules has a question. When you are just starting out with your business, what's the most challenging part that you've encountered, and how were you able to overcome it? When I was just starting out, the most challenging part would be hiring the right people. That's looking back. That's gonna be my answer. Hiring the right people. Because closing deals was also difficult. It was also difficult. Marketing was also difficult, but the most difficult part was how to hire the right people. And that question stayed with me all the way till the seventh year that I was doing business. And when I found out that the solution to that is prolonging the hiring process and making sure to hire only people who fit your culture, not people who you have to grow to your culture. Okay, so you hire them, they're already a good fit, and you just plug them in. You don't need and you cannot grow people to fit your culture, to fit your core values. That's impossible. So just hire the right people. I think that's super challenging. And by not hiring the right people, I went through a bloody time. It was a bloody, hellish time for me. The wrong people would just try to sabotage your business and burn it to the ground. That's how I could say it. So make sure if you're starting out, hire the right people. You have the right hiring process, or if you don't have a hiring process, make sure you just take your time. Don't hire in a, just I need someone on this seat. I need someone doing this job because I don't want to do it anymore, or because I'm doing so much anymore. And that's how I used to hire. That's how I used to hire. I need someone doing this. So the next person who would come in front of me in the hiring table, you're hired. And that's horrible. That's the wrong way to hire someone. That's the wrong way to hire people in your organization, especially if you're a startup. And most startups are super vulnerable because the first hires you're going to do, they're the ones who are going to dictate your culture. And if you're the one selling and you're always out because you're the one closing deals like I used to be, guess what? People I hired, they're the ones in the office, and they're the ones dictating the culture, telling the new hires how horrible I am as a person or as a boss. It's just super toxic. That is something I would never want to go back to again. So yeah, that's my advice to you. Prolong your hiring process. Don't hire because you need people, but hire because you're looking for the right people. Second question from Jules: starting a business in a young age can feel lonely at times. I remember you mentioned this as well in one of your podcast episodes. What's your advice for people who's feeling the same right now? Not just starting a business in a young age. When you're CEO and founder, it's lonely. That's why there's a phrase that says it's lonely at the top, right? It's lonely at the top. I think that's true. Even if you're doing business and you're 40 years old or 50 years old and your business has been around for decades, when you're CEO founder, it is lonely at the top. And so the solution to that would be to put people around you who can understand you. And for me, that's having mentors and other business owners who understand you 100%. Let me tell you one truth: your employees, your team members will never understand how you think, will never understand how you feel about them, how you feel about the business, will never understand your good intentions the way that other business people and other startup founders and other CEOs would understand it. This is because you share the same experience. I made hiring process mistakes. A lot of my a lot of the people who are business people in my circle of influence, they pretty much went through the same hiring mistakes. They pretty much went through the same bloody situation that I've been through when it comes to managing and leading their team. So it's not just because you're starting a business in the young age that you could feel lonely at times. It goes on. It goes on even if you become successful, even if you become the best in your field. So my suggestion for you is surround yourself with people who understand and know you. These are other CEO founders as well. And the emphasis is on founders, not just CEOs, because you can hire CEOs and they didn't find the company, they didn't start the business, they wouldn't be able to understand you 100%. Look for CEO founders, people who started it all. They would be able to understand you better, and you could find more inspiration from them. You could realize that actually it's quite fun, even if it's lonely sometimes because your people don't understand you, but there are people out there outside of your organization who can understand you. There is a part in the Bible where Jesus says only in his hometown among his family, relatives, and friends is a prophet without honor. And I think that's true for business owners as well, especially CEO founders. We feel that our own team and organization, that is the most difficult thing for us to have, for them to see us with honor, for them to see that you're the one who's actually sacrificing for them, who's actually trying to make ends meet so you can pay them so that they can have their salary and live the life that they want, or live that secured life that they want to live. They will not see it that way. For a lot of employees, they just see it as, I deserve this pay because I worked for it. So it's tough to reconcile that. It's going to be lonely, not just now but for a long time coming, believe me. So you have to surround yourself with people who can understand you 100%. Question from Cora: how will you deal with a subordinate who is not open to being taught new things to improve quality of work? Fire that person. I mean, if that subordinate is not open to being taught, who's not open to learning new things, right? It just means that the person has refused to grow already. If you're not open to being taught new things, if you're not open to learning new things, then you're as good as a tree that is no longer growing. And if a tree doesn't grow, it's not producing new leaves, it's not producing new fruit, it is on its way to die. So it's the same, I think, with a person in your team who is not open to learning new things and being taught new things. They're on their way to die, at least from a professional standpoint. So my suggestion is get rid of that person, because that person would soon still ask you for a raise just because of his or her tenure, just because he or she is spending more years in your business. And it's going to be hard for you to give that raise because they haven't grown. They just spent more years in your business doing the same thing. So I suggest you have to get rid of that person. That's it. Another question from Cora: aside from Leadership Stack, what podcasts or vlogs do you listen to or you can recommend to help us improve in the areas of leadership, entrepreneurship, communication, and soft skills? So I had a guest not so long ago. His name is Brendan Kumarasamy. You could see his podcast episodes in our Spotify and YouTube channels for the Leadership Stack. Just look for Leadership Stack on YouTube or Spotify. You'll be able to find Brendan Kumarasamy's episodes. He is really good in just teaching you how to communicate better. So that's a soft skill that is super important nowadays. Communication, public speaking, super important. Leadership and entrepreneurship, I listen to John Maxwell's podcast. So if you type in leadership actually on Spotify, if you search for leadership, you scroll down in the podcasts, number one result would be John Maxwell. Number two result would be the Leadership Stack podcast. So that's true. Try it. Go to Spotify, search for leadership, scroll down to podcasts. John Maxwell would be number one. Leadership Stack would be number two. And I listen to John Maxwell's podcasts. I also listen to Dave Ramsey's Untry Leadership. Although Dave Ramsey is not always there, I think he has other people hosting the show now. But they have fantastic guests sometimes. Not all the time. I don't think every episode is fantastic, but sometimes there are really good episodes. For organizational health, I listen to Patrick Lencioni. I read a lot of his books. In fact, I'm reading one right now, which is about the ideal team player. Really good read. I'm at the fable pa lang, not yet in the lesson, but really good read so far. Loving it. So, yeah, those are three big names for me that you could also follow. Next question from Sarah Santonia. Sarah, thanks for being here. How do you think companies will account for Bitcoin in their books as they started using it for their business transactions, knowing that it's highly volatile? If you are asking for accounting purposes, for taxation purposes, I think a lot of companies would avoid putting Bitcoin in their books, and that's because Bitcoin cannot be traced really. But if you're an honest business person, then you can of course declare that. There is no one stopping you from declaring that. But if you're asking me if it could be legally traced. That's not possible, and that's the nature of Bitcoin. It's really a ledger to ledger transaction, straight. If you are asking it from a perspective of getting paid via Bitcoin and it being highly volatile, I think businesses who want to get paid via Bitcoin are businesses who think that Bitcoin's going to go a lot higher than what it is now. So I think it's only those businesses who will allow for Bitcoin payments. Do I think it's going to go up? I think so. I think so because it's pretty much, yeah, pretty much. Bitcoin and Ethereum is the most accepted cryptocurrency right now. It's the most popular cryptocurrency right now with good value. So I'm not gonna say they have good foundation, but they have good value. So I think it's gonna grow further. Next question from Patrick. They say, okay, how do you go? When do you expect to get back to the office operations for your team? Will you consider doing a blended approach of work from home and office when things get to normal? I honestly am not there yet. I haven't thought ahead that far. I don't know when we will be able to get back to office operations for our team. As far as what I want to happen, I do wanna get back to office operations, but if it's going to risk the lives of people, I don't think it's worth it. So we have been working from home ever since, actually before even the lockdowns happened. We already announced the work from home, and we already were working from home before the lockdowns last year March. So and we've been working from home ever since. Blended approach, I'm not so sure yet. So we have experienced the downsides of working from home already. When it comes to culture, the culture is not the same, and people who are newly hired that started from a work from home culture, it is difficult to instill the company culture 100% in them. And we have seen that as a downside because SEO Hacker, we have a very strong company culture. So not being able to integrate that to people who were hired during the pandemic, meaning they were hired and they started from a work from home perspective, we haven't been able to strongly integrate the company culture with them. And we lack that camaraderie, that physical face to face interaction, and that human touch to be able to integrate the company culture deeply. So I think that blended approach, maybe, maybe not. Maybe we will work in the office for quite some time. I also think that a lot of people after the pandemic is done would want to go back to the office because we've been living and working at home for a long time. So I think a lot of people would want to go back to the office. But that's my opinion. It might be just me. I don't know. I live a few minutes away from the office via bike. So maybe it's just me. Next question. With the rising prices of food, how do you start your own home farm or livestock? How much do you need and is it worth it? Um, I don't think that we can start a livestock farming here, at least in BF Parañaque, because it is against association regulations to house your own chickens. So, yeah, cannot do that. But when it comes to growing your own vegetables and oh yeah, fish, I have fish, so that's livestock. So yeah, I'm doing an aquaponics system at the backyard. I referred actually someone who does the entire system to Chinkitan not so long ago, and the quotation was given for the entire aquaponic system that's movable, meaning you can actually it's portable. Because my system at the backyard is not portable, it's cemented, and I had an architect help me with that, and then I procured the materials for the pump and PVCs myself. So even the lava rocks I procured myself, and etc. The tilapias as well, growing them from a fry to full grown tilapia. It's an investment. It's an investment. It's not super duper expensive, but I would say that still buying your food from outside is still going to be cheaper. And but you just have to live with the pesticides that they put in the vegetables and with the feeds that they're going to be feeding your tilapia with. That's the downside, because that's long term, that's going to cause problems within your body. And the reason why I started my own aquaponics farm at the backyard is not because of rising food prices, but because of going organic. So if your goal is to go organic, that's why you want to grow your own food, then definitely worth the investment. But if you're just thinking that you're gonna have it cheaper, actually it's not cheaper, because you're gonna put up capital expense. It is enjoyable, very, very enjoyable if you like farming. So that those are the pros and cons. So it's worth it if you want to take care of of your health. But if you just want things cheaper, I don't think it's worth it. So, by the way, if you've ever seen my system from my YouTube videos or my videos on Facebook, my aquaponic system, I use grow lights. That's because I don't have sunlight uh, pouring in my backyard. It's not there. The sunlight is not there. It's not good. So I have grow lights, industrial grow lights that I had to buy, and I run them every day. Thank God that my house is running on solar as well, so our electrical bill is not high at all. But if I didn't have solar panels for my house, that might be expensive, the grow lights, because they're high wattage, and they're from Hute grow lights. Friend of mine owns it. Really good service, by the way. Love it. And if you're looking to start your own aquaponic system indoors without the sun, definitely go with Hute grow lights. Super superb quality. um but yeah, so if it's cheap, it's not cheaper to do it that way. One next question: when do you know when to quit your job and pursue entrepreneurship? Is it for everyone? To answer your question, if you're thinking about quitting your job and pursuing entrepreneurship, you're thinking about it, don't quit. That's because you're not yet sure, because you're still thinking about it. But if you're not thinking about it anymore, just jump ship and just pursue entrepreneurship. So in my case, I was doing SEO on the side, and it didn't make sense to me to stay in my day job anymore, because my what I'm earning with SEO hacker is much bigger than what I was earning in my day job. So I wasn't thinking about it. I knew it was the right thing for me to do, to just pursue entrepreneurship and do it full time. When you get to that point, then you can quit your job. But if you're still thinking about, should I quit, should I not quit, then don't quit your job, because you're not yet sure, and maybe your side hustle is also not earning that much yet. So that is not the time to quit. Also, entrepreneurship is not for everyone. It can get grueling, and so people who are struggling with anxiety, who are struggling with depression, or who are struggling with mental health problems, might not be that suitable to do entrepreneurship, because it's risky. The word entrepreneurship comes from the French word entreprendre, which means risk taker. And if you're going to take risks and you're struggling with mental health problems, it's not going to be a good combination. So I don't think it's for everyone. Also, if you are not someone who wants to serve people, who wants to serve others, clients, employees, shareholders, don't do entrepreneurship, because you're going to be serving a lot of people. I serve my clients every day. I serve my team every day by making sure they have what they need, by making sure they get paid right, they get paid on time, by making sure we still hire help if a certain team is already struggling with the workload. So you have to serve a lot of people. But when you're an employee, you serve only a few people. You serve your team, your direct team members, you serve your boss, and that's pretty much it. If you're not client facing, that's it. You don't serve a lot of people. So if you don't like having to serve a lot of people in your life, entrepreneurship is not going to be for you. Next question: where do you plan to invest this year aside from putting back money to your business? Um, this year, I plan to invest in the future of SEO Hacker. So that's going to be the headquarters of SEO Hacker. If ever we grow past 50 people, our current office right now is going to be too tight for us already. Even if the pandemic is over and we go back to the office, it's still going to be too tight once we reach somewhere 60. Actually, somewhere 60 people is going to be too tight already for us. And so I plan to invest in a lot where we can build maybe 3 story or 4 story building, given what maybe the next 5 years or so. I'm not gonna be able to do everything in one go, so it's gonna be like buy the lot, wait a couple of years, build the first floor, wait a couple of years, build the second floor. It's gonna be a slow roll. But yeah, that's an investment. Although I don't plan to sell that property, we're gonna be using it as our headquarters. So technically, it's not an investment because I'm gonna be using that asset and I'm not gonna be selling it. But yes, it's a lot of people still consider it as an investment. So aside from that, copy trading. That's where I've been putting my money in. So yeah, definitely that. Um, Next one, congrats on being one of the top SEO companies in the world. Well, that's according to the article that I posted, but yeah, to each his own opinion, though. Who? What's the question here? What's the secret on how I did it? Um, I think that they rank the top SEO companies in the world by readership, by links also that you get, and by maybe how long you've been in the industry. So we're in the top 100 companies in the world. I think we're 60 something, 61 was it? And SEO Hacker has been there a while. We're now a 10-year-old SEO company, which is already quite aged because the SEO industry only picked up somewhere 2015, I think, 2016. So it just so happens that we have been blessed to be at the right time, starting this thing. So I think that's one big deal why we made the top 100 list. But yeah, thanks. Thanks for that, and just work hard, work your ass off, make sure that you produce excellent quality work, and you serve other people. And SEO Hacker gained popularity because we've been writing stuff that helps other people. We write stuff that would allow people to improve their strategy, that allow people to adapt to tactics that work. We write for people who want to do things ethically. We serve people and they read our blogs, they link to it, they share our stuff, and that contributes to higher rankings for us and more deals and more inquiries. And so again, you have to be serving other people. If you keep on serving other people, I don't think it's that difficult for you to get to the top 100 companies in the world. So there are two Filipino SEO companies who made the top 100 list. That's Kaiser the Sage, who I mentioned earlier, Jason Asidre, and SEO Hacker. So I'm proud that there's two Filipino companies who made the top 100 SEO companies in the world. Actually, that's a very good thing. Next question. What is notes from a CEO? So yeah, me and my social media marketing team, we thought about doing this series called Notes from a CEO, and you can check out my Facebook page, Sean C. You would be able to follow the Notes from a CEO there. Basically, they asked me a lot of stuff, and I just gave my answers to them, and we're posting that. So the first question they asked me, I think, is the top 3 skills that a person should have to be successful. And so I gave them my answers. They turned it into an infographic and posted it in my Facebook page and Instagram. So yeah, it's super cool. I find it. I hope it helps a lot of people. Next question is from Cedric Choa. How do you decide the salary that you give to yourself and the management team? Salary I give to myself, when I was starting out, it would be everything that was left. So after I paid all of the salaries, expenses, what else, rent, etc., everything that was left, that's my salary. So when I was starting out, it would be like 5,000 pesos a month, 6,000 pesos a month, and I was paying my people the right amount of salary, which is much bigger than that. So, ganun talaga eh. When you're starting out, you only get what's left. You cannot pay yourself first because if you did, the business wouldn't work and you would be cash negative. So, and then finally we incorporated. I had to put my salary on paper. So my salary, a lot of people think that it's big, but it's actually super small. So it's actually smaller than my salary in HP. That's my salary in SEO Hacker, and my starting salary in HP is 25K. So my salary in SEO Hacker is actually smaller than that. So yeah, but there are reasons and implications why I decided on that salary as well. So hope the answers I gave were helpful. We're 50 minutes in, and guys, I just want to remind you, if you're watching from Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Periscope, to go to the link right here from the tron.c/discord, join the Discord channel, and you will be able to ask your questions as well. If you're wondering where the questions are where the questions are coming from, it's coming from the Discord channel. So please join the Discord channel. You can post your questions there. Join us, and you can have your questions answered, even if they are business consulting questions. I would be answering them. Shout outs. Shout out to Julie Ann Makalagay. Good evening. Thanks for joining us tonight. Obviously, for Patrick James Miguel, thank you for joining us tonight and for being in Facebook and Discord at the same time. For Jensel Punsalan Heradura, shout out to you. Thank you for tuning in and being here with us tonight. And for Yasil Limon, bonjour. I think you are all the way from France. So thanks for tuning in as well. And I hope that this episode has helped you out. Again, we are on Spotify. If you haven't yet, please do follow us there. We have new episodes that have just come out. And the last one is actually interesting: how to make your customers stay in spite of the crashing economy. So, paano nga ba? How do you make them stay in spite of the crashing economy? This is an interview that I did, and it was super enjoyable. The same guy who answered the questions about how to improve your business by sleeping, and how he was hospitalized for a very long time, running his company and growing his company from the hospital bed. Super enjoyable podcast recording for me, and I hope that you enjoy listening to it as well. So that is all the questions tonight. Thank you everyone again for joining me. This is going to be published as a podcast episode as well on Spotify and on YouTube. And we will do this again next week, Thursdays, 8 p.m. Please do share this live episode, to friends and family. If you are not able to get to this live, you can still share the episode. You can still share the YouTube. You can still share the Spotify episodes to friends and family. That would help us a lot. God bless you guys, and I will see you next week.